afternoon. At the tone, Pacific Daylight Time will be 5, 4, and 30 seconds.
What? Oh my God, we're having an earthquake. Wait a minute. Hold on. Can you feel that? Yes, I sure can. Okay, this is interesting. There go the lights. Oh.
We are here with Jorge Vargas. It is August 22nd, 2019 at the Prieta Library, and we are here to talk about the 1989 Loma Prieta earthquake. Thank you for being here.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah. So can you start by telling me how long you've lived in Santa Cruz?
Actually, I live in Monterey County,
Okay.
in Salinas specifically, and I lived in Salinas since 1984.
Oh, okay.
I came here because my wife's a native of Salinas, and I ended up in Salinas working for the state, and I've been employed there ever since.
Oh.
I'm an attorney, and that's my profession now.
Excellent. So tell me what you were doing during the earthquake.
Actually, during the earthquake, I was in the backyard of our house. I was watering the grass just before the World Series game. It was A's against the Giants, obviously. And I just remember watering the grass with a hose, and then the earthquake hit. But I remember we at that time we had a big backyard, and I remember waves of grass just moving all the way to my eyeballs as I was watering the grass, and instantly, I grew up in LA.
Okay.
So I was there for the earthquake in LA. So I knew this was an earthquake.
Right.
So as soon as that happened, I just ran inside the house to call my wife to see what my son was doing and see if everybody was okay. Fortunately, everybody was fine.
Good. So what happened immediately after the earthquake? Did you get a hold of your wife? Was your phone down?
No. In Salinas, everything was working fine, actually, considering.
That's great.
Considering everything I went through. My wife was a little in a panic, but she was able to go to her mother's house. And that's where I reached her. She had just gotten out of work. And she went to my mother's house, who was babysitting our son. And we touched bases, everything was fine. And she was going to stay there for a while to relax. And then I said, okay, we'll touch bases later on. I'll go to your mom's. So I think I ended up going to my mother-in-law's house to pick him up and bring him home.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what happened in the aftermath of the earthquake?
Well, that's when I went back to work the following day. And then, of course, everybody's watching TV. What was going on, the latest events, the latest news. And there was a reporter, as I recall, trying to interview individuals in Watsonville, because Watsonville was one of the areas that was hit.
Mm-hmm.
And I recall the reporter interviewing, I think it was chief of police or the mayor, and they were saying, well, we don't have enough personnel. We don't have people. Everything's hitting all at one time. They weren't prepared for this. Mm-hmm. And so I took it upon myself. I told my wife, we have to do something. I got to do something. We were fine. So I came down to Watsonville, and I came to the FEMA office. Or I had called earlier, and they asked me, well, what do you do? And I said, well, I'm an attorney by trade. Well, if you don't mind, can you come down to the FEMA office and help us out? I said, sure, I'll go down there. Came to the FEMA office, and I helped with the paperwork. People were coming in, and they were just setting up. They weren't ready for that either. Mm-hmm. But they were setting up. It actually was where I think the Warriors minor league basketball team now plays. They had created a makeshift stadium.
Oh.
It became a housing unit later on, and now it's for the Warriors. But so they were setting up tents there, It was a tent city for people who had been displaced, and for people who needed help with the FEMA. So they said, "Okay, can you just help out and help them fill out the paperwork and do what has to be done?" Sure. I did it for one day. I came back the next day, and they just told me, "You're Spanish speaking?" "Yes." "Fluently?" "Yes, I am." "Well, we really need people to go out in the neighborhood who are Spanish speaking because of the population of Montserrat to help translate and help talk to the people who are not leaving their homes." People did not want to leave their homes for fear of another earthquake, and it was their home, even though it was damaged, it was not. So they asked if I can go with the inspectors and the engineers, house to house, see if anybody was in the house, see if everybody was okay, anybody was safe, and then if the house was damaged, if the engineers, the structural engineers that was with us, if the house was damaged, they were to vacate, and we were to put the notices on the house. I recall one of the individuals I went with was from an engineer from Santa Cruz, Ken Devereaux. It's hard to forget that name, but he was one of the engineers who came with us. There was 4 of us. They gave us a smock or a reflector vest. And yes, the majority of the people, if not everybody, were Spanish speakers. And they needed so I was translating for the engineers and the first aid individuals. First of all, if you're okay, if everybody's okay, anything damaged, no. But then once we saw the house, the conditions of the house or the apartments, and we had to tell you have to vacate, and this is where you can go. And people didn't want to leave. Some people didn't. A couple of times we needed assistance from the police department, who had come and say, yes, you have to leave. The house is not safe. It might be an aftershock, and the house might collapse. If it hasn't already, it might collapse. So we need you to leave. And so we stayed there to whatever they got their belongings, and then they left. Or there were other instances where the house was already tagged, and they wanted to come back in and get some more stuff. So I was there, and basically I was just a translator.
Yeah.
I was translating the whole day, and I did that for 2 weeks. I went up for 2 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah.
That seems like a very special, unique experience to have, to sort of intersect
Yeah.
in that way.
It was.
How did it feel doing that work?
It felt strange, very strange. Number one, I couldn't believe nobody else spoke Spanish. The city and the population here, and yet even at the FEMA table, I don't think I ran into anybody that spoke Spanish. So that was not disconcerting, but that's part of the process. It was kind of emotional because people didn't want to leave their homes. There were families, there were kids. People were still in shock. They didn't know what was going on. For many, this was probably the first time they've ever been in an earthquake of this magnitude. So, yeah, it was emotional.
Did you understand the significance of the earthquake, either when it happened or immediately afterward?
Yeah, like I said, I grew up in LA. I was in high school when the San Fernando Valley earthquake hit. So I was aware of the consequences and devastation that had occurred. So it wasn't new to me. I lived in LA since I was 10 years old. And by this time I was 31 years old. So Yeah, I knew the consequences, I knew the effects that it had from previous experiences, yes.
How do you think the earthquake impacted the Santa Cruz community? Or rather, the Watsonville community?
Well, obviously, that tent city had to go up overnight because there was a lot of people that were displaced. And there wasn't enough shelters to go around for people. People were out, and I remember seeing people out in the streets, just wandering the streets. They didn't know where to go. And I think it just caught everybody off guard. And you know, what they preach today, preparedness, have a kit, have a safety plan, be able to tell your relatives what's going to happen when you be. None of that. So really, it froze the city. It froze the city.
So you've grown up experiencing earthquakes. You went through Loma, Prieta. Do you take any precautions against natural disasters now?
We do take the advice. We do have a kid at home. My kids are grown up, of course, that's my wife and I. But we have everything strapped down. And we make sure we know where to go and who to contact in case of emergency. So I've taken precautions in that regard. I make sure we have water, and we do have a supply kit set aside at home just in case. Our cars are all equipped with emergency gear, blankets, water, cables, batteries, radios. So, yeah, I'd say we're kind of ready.
What's it like to reflect on your experience 30 years later?
I just can't believe it's been 30 years, number one. And you still see the effects of it. Some remnants, not a lot, but it seems like I mentioned earlier, where the Warriors play, there used to be a big old tent. If there's a good that came out of this, sure. It's new development. The structures have been retrofitted. People are more aware of what's going on now. If the message is getting out to them, I think the message will get out, and I can see it's in various languages as well. So that's helpful. That's helpful because our society it's a mix. We're all the time mixing. It's not just one dominant language. There's various languages out there, and the information is filtering out, and that's good. That's good.
A lot of the interviews that I've done, people have mentioned seeing neighbors who previously didn't know one another come out and help support each other and offer supplies and training. Did you notice any of that when you were in Loma?
No, what I just noticed, it was just, if you want to say it was the kind of, for lack of a better word, the ugly side of it, because you're trying to evict individuals. So I didn't see the neighbors up, and I saw people refusing to leave and getting angry and mad and afraid of having to leave their homes. So that's the part that I didn't see. I wish I would have saw people helping each other, but it was the areas of trying to get people out of an unsafe house.
Have you been able to keep in touch with any of those people, or do you know if they ever got back into their homes?
No, I once after those 2 weeks were over, that was it. Yeah. Went back to my world.
Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to add that we haven't covered?
No, no, that's it.
Pretty much covered it?
Pretty much covered it. Yeah.
Okay. Great. Well, that's wonderful. I really appreciate you sharing your story with us.